Tell Me About It is brought to you by Don Franklin Auto of Glasgow, Extreme Health Club, and Lockshield Partners Accounting Services.
Hey, welcome to Tell Me About It. This is James Brown. We are on the Glasgow EPB Channel 6, a local channel. You can also catch this show. It airs every Thursday night at 6 p.m. on the local channel. You can catch it on YouTube on the Glasgow EPB channel on 104thescore.com and kysports.tv. It's soccer day today here on Tell Me About It. And first up, we have Scott Zettlemoyer. He's the girls coach at Glasgow High School. How long have you been coaching the girls team now?
I think this will be my 6th or 7th year. I'm not for sure. I've lost count already.
They just run together after a while. Well, and of course, that year where we didn't know we were going to play or not.
True.
Kind of. I mean, look, I can't remember things at all after that period because chronologically everything's out of whack these days. Well, before we talk about your team, I want to ask you, how did you get into playing soccer when you were growing up?
We moved up here from Texas in 1995, and my mom worked at the YMCA, so I got roped into playing soccer at 3 years old at the YMCA, and I fell in love with it, and it's been smooth sailing ever since, I guess, is an easy way to say it.
Yeah. Now, you played at Glasgow.
Yes.
And I guess you were a forward and a goalie. Is that how it worked out for you?
I played a little bit of everything in high school. Forward, goalie, defense, midfield, mainly forward and goalie, though. My sophomore year, I stepped in and took over the position at the starting role because our starter broke his hand.
Yeah.
And then it was goalie role after that. And then my senior year, I transitioned back into a forward position.
Okay. And then did you go on and play at Lindsay? Is that where you ended up?
No, I didn't play at Lindsay. I played at Mid-Continent University.
Okay.
4-year player there. Started my whole senior year. And then I had 1 semester left there, and that school filed bankruptcy, so they had to close down.
Okay.
So then I got in touch with Coach Ray Wells at Lindsey Wilson, and he let me come over there, and I was a grad assistant coach over there for the last 3 seasons there.
Gotcha. And then, so you took over the girls program. I think you helped Coach Ken Mahung with the boys program for a couple of seasons. Mm-hmm. And then helped, I guess, Sean Goldburn his last season.
Yes.
Coaching the girls at Glasgow. And then you took over the program. And when you took over the program, you kind of fell into a pretty good situation.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. My niece was, I believe she was a sophomore or junior the year I took over. And luckily she had a bunch of friends that decided that they all wanted to come and play soccer. So
yeah.
When that happened, that put us into a really good position to look at the season and actually compete for district and compete for region, because I mean we had a pretty fun start to my career as a head coach. I won't doubt that, but yeah, it was a good fun start when I very first took over. 100%.
Well, and so, but the way it kind of worked out, as it sometimes does in schools, is you had a bunch of players. They all happened to be pretty much in the same grade.
Yep.
And they all graduated, and then you were kind of. And also the thing, I mean, I've seen this happen in other sports too. You might have a large class like that, and I don't know if it means that younger players decide they're just not going to play because they don't think they're going to get playing time. And then when they graduate, you kind of have a void in players.
It kind of was like that at first because there was a time frame where Emma's class had like 6 or 7 seniors, and then the sophomore class had like 13. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking that was going to happen, but I think that when that sophomore class didn't like that there were so many people ahead of them playing, so some of them quit, and that dropped off that class. And then we didn't have a middle school girls team yet, so it was hard getting the numbers in the freshman class and things like that. But it ended up working out, and it's been a struggle to try and get the numbers in, but we've been able to at least have a team every year since I've been there. So I'm very happy, at least I would say that way.
Yeah. How critical is that middle school program to I guess rebuilding or building up the numbers to this girls program?
It's 100% critical. There were girls that would always tell us that they were interested in playing soccer, but they didn't want to play with the boys. So we were like, well, let's get this program going. And we did a survey, and there were tons of girls that were interested in it. So we started last year with our first season ever to have an all-girls middle school team. And the numbers have obviously shown that it's helping us, because I haven't had to struggle to find players as much this year as I did last year or the year previous. So looking at it that way, I'm extremely grateful that the middle school is allowing us to do it, and I'm excited to see what Garnet Bell does with the middle school team this season.
Well, and when you go out like in the spring, and I guess they still have the fall league, I don't really check that very often,
Yes.
but they do have the spring league through the Glasgow Recreation Department, and you go out there are hundreds of players out there.
Oh, 100%.
And I would venture to guess there are more girls playing soccer than boys when you go out there in the spring.
We were out there in the spring this year because my niece was playing, and I think they had over 300 kids signed up for soccer, from 4 or 5-year-olds all the way up to 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
And it is jam-packed with kids left and right, and there's tons of girls out there. Some of them go to Barron County, some of them go to Glasgow, so it's making sure I'm talking to the right ones to make sure that they're going to be playing for me one day, hopefully. So, yeah, there's tons of kids interested in soccer. I love it because the sport's growing so much here, and that's what I want to see the most out of anything.
Well, and to that end, I mean, I would think that a lot of them would feed into the middle school at Glasgow, and once you had that team got started last year, then they now have the opportunity to continue to play, and maybe they just didn't feel like they did before.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I know for a fact that there was at least one girl that when I took over, she was playing with the boys, and she told me that after we got the middle school team that she was mad at me because we didn't start it earlier. So
Right.
I'm excited to see how many girls will end up coming through the middle school program, and I just hope that the numbers stay up and that it continues to grow.
Well, tell me a little bit about the high school team that you have this year. I think you have one senior, Lily Wolf.
Yeah, I have one senior this year, Lily Wolf. She's played for me all 4 years. I'm expecting her to take a jump forward in her career and play a big role for the team this season. I've got another girl named Jenny Miranda. She's going to hold down the midfield. Her older sister played for me, Dinah. So I'm hoping that they have a tendency to play very similar like each other. And Jenny has proven that she's working her butt off this summer, and she's getting in good shape. And I expect big things out of her. And then I've got a new goalkeeper this season, Deja Driver. I'm expecting some big things out of her this season going forward as well.
Yeah. After the one senior, about how many juniors do you have?
I think I'm sitting at 5 juniors, 6 sophomores, and about 4 freshmen, something like that. I think I'm sitting at about 15 or 16 as an overall number, which is right where I kind of want to be. It allows us to let all the girls get some good playing time, and that helps us come at the end of the year when everybody's in shape. So
Yeah. Well, and I guess the middle schoolers cannot play varsity soccer, but they can play
play JV. So 7th and 8th graders will play with the freshmen and sophomores on the JV team. So that's going to allow those 7th and 8th graders to mesh with the sophomores and freshmen, so where they're getting more comfortable around each other, and you get to see how they react with the bigger bodies.
Yeah.
Because some of them are about the same size as some of these high school girls, and then some of them aren't. So it's trying to figure out which ones are going to mesh well and which ones we've got to find where they're going to thrive better at.
Yeah. It's kind of ironic in a way, because whenever in youth soccer, I think a lot of parents think it's a non-contact sport.
Yes.
But if you learn it the right way, it is a severely contact sport.
It is a contact sport with slide tackling and just running into each other. It is a contact sport.
Getting those shoulders in the right place.
Exactly. Putting the shoulder in the right place. As long as you don't extend that arm, you're good.
Right. Now, what's your first game?
We actually just had a schedule change. Our first game this season, I believe, is going to be against Greene County. It's going to be on Monday.
Okay.
We had to change that date from the 10th to the Monday. And then I think we start with 3 back-to-back games. It's Greene County, Russell County, and then Warren Central in the 2A on the Wednesday. So it should be a grind to start off the season, and then a good test to just see where we're at and go from there.
Your district includes Warren East, Barron County, and Allen County, Scottsville. I guess Allen County's program's probably about 5 or 6 years old now, maybe.
I think that's about right, 5 or 6. I think this is their second or third year being able to actually compete in the district.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's about right.
So when you look at your district, what does it look like to you?
I think for us looking at it, I want us to be able to be in the place to compete for the title at near the end of the season. So in saying that, we've got to be able to hold our own against Allen County, which we had some grinding games against them last year.
Some doozies.
Some doozies, you're not wrong. And then Barron County, the biggest rival, so we've got to make sure we can hold our own there. And then Warren East is going to be the big test for us, so we've got to make sure that when we go to Warren East, we hold our own and we play well at Warren East. I feel that Warren East is probably going to be the team to beat in our district this season, followed by any one of us three, I think, could be competing for that second spot at the end of the year, because I know that Allen County's taking steps forward, and Barron County is going to be Barron County. They're going to be the team that's going to go out there and play physical and be aggressive, and of course they've got Hadley Adams that just can score from anywhere on the field.
Yeah, she's also cooking for the football team this year.
Again? Okay,
yes.
Good to know. I'll schedule more games against them on Fridays next year.
Right. Yeah. So, are there some games on your schedule where you look at and you're like, okay, this is a good measurement game for us, our growth and that kind of thing?
I think to start off the year right off the back with the 3 games that we have, those are great measurements to start the year. And then I look for we go to Russell County again, and I feel like that'd be a good test for us on the away run. Mm-hmm. And then any of our away games I feel are going to be good tests for us. So whether it be going to Warren East or going to Allen or going to Barron, to see how we do in those scenarios will show our level of maturity and our level of work ethic. Mm-hmm. So if we're able to work, I feel like we'll be able to compete well and do a good job this season.
Gotcha. Is there anything else you want folks to know about your team or the season?
I just want everybody to know that we're going to be a physical and aggressive team, and that if the fans bear with us, that hopefully by the end of the year we'll be in the right place doing the right things.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Scott.
Thanks.
All right. I've been here with Scott Zettlemoyer, Glasgow girls soccer coach. This is Tell Me About It. I'm James Brown. We'll be right back.
Lockshield Partners Accounting Services provides professional and trusted expertise to our clients. Our team offers individual, business, and nonprofit tax preparation services, as well as payroll, bookkeeping, and consulting year-round. Call or visit our office today so our team can work for you while you and your loved ones focus on what really matters, because together we plan.
Extreme Fitness has doubled in size, now with over 8,000 square feet of co-ed weights and an upgraded 90-degree saline therapy pool. The Extreme Fitness campus also holds the exclusive Extreme Fitness for Women complex and Extreme Blend smoothie bar. You have to experience the variety of classes to realize the impact they have on their clients. Personal training is with the best in the business and is available and tailored to fit individuals. So start your journey today at Extreme Fitness and Health Club.
At Don Franklin, we're more than a group of car dealerships. We're hardworking, everyday people of Kentucky. We strive daily to give 110% to our customers, our employees, and our families. We are committed to providing everyone with a safe and reliable vehicle, and we continue our tradition of supporting our local communities. At all 24 dealerships across Kentucky, we will treat you like family. Don Franklin Family of Dealerships, we are Kentucky.
Hi, I'm James Brown. Welcome back to Tell Me About It. We are here on Glasgow EPB Channel 6, the local channel. You can catch this show on Thursday nights at 6 p.m. That's when it airs. And then you can catch it on the Glasgow EPB YouTube channel. 1043thescore.com, and kysports.tv. Trevent's at football camp this week, so we decided we'd try some other football coaches. In this case, colloquially known as soccer. But so we've had Scott Zettlemoyer on here, and now we have Ken Mahung, the Glasgow boys soccer coach. You've been at this a little while, coaching soccer,
Yes.
playing soccer. I'm going to ask you first, how did you get into playing soccer when you were growing up?
Well, where I grew up, it's practically the most important sport for any kid to play. There are other sports. We had basketball,
Yeah.
but netball, which I don't see in America.
No, not very popular
But,
here.
but baseball, but that's it.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was all about football.
Now, where'd you grow up?
Belize.
Yeah. What, a particular part of Belize?
I grew up in the southern part of Belize,
Uh-huh.
yeah, in the Stan Creek district area.
Okay. Now, that's quite a journey, I would say, over time from Belize to the United States, or
Right.
especially Glasgow, Kentucky.
No kidding.
So I mean, so when you were growing up, you played soccer and that kind of thing, but how did you kind of progress in the game from your youth days on until you really kind of started coaching? I know it's a really long time frame question, so maybe we need to cut that
Yeah,
down.
we'll cut it down. Well, in Belize, we have inter-school competitions like we have here. So in grade school, I was playing. I started to get recruited for high school while I was playing in grade school. And then they had me play with these clubs while I was playing in grade school. And to play with the clubs, it's a big deal at that time.
Yeah.
Then I went on to high school, and I played there. And while I was playing in high school, I got recruited to play with the inter-district team, which is that you represent your district, where,
Yeah.
where you grow up. And that's a
Kinda like a
nationwide
state.
competition.
Kinda like a
Exactly.
state, yeah.
That's correct. So I was very young at that time. I was a teenager
Right.
at that time. Then from there, I got recruited for the national team. And then from there, I was sent abroad. So I played in Mexico, for example. Then I played in Amsterdam. I played in Brazil as well. So I was sent around to get trained,
Yeah.
to develop.
So at what point in time did you kind of transition from being a soccer player to being a soccer coach? And what kind of inspired that transition?
That's a funny story, actually, because I was still a high school player. I was playing in high school, and I used to jog 6 miles every morning. So I would wake up around 4 o'clock, jog my 6 miles, and then come back and get to the soccer field, and then work out on my own. Well, there are these grade school kids that actually noticed me doing that. And by then, I was already, as they say, a popular player.
Yeah.
They were following me. I didn't realize it. And I'm out there, I see
Yeah,
these little
groupies.
kids. Right, exactly. And they're there sitting and watching me. And one day just came to say, could you coach us? I said, I'm in high school. They said, we need a coach. And they were a grade school team for the Methodist school. I went to a Catholic school.
Okay.
Catholics don't like Methodists. That's the way it was.
Right.
And I said, no. And they said, we don't have a coach and we really want to do well. And they were always beat up on. The Methodist school, the Anglican schools. The Catholic schools always just dominated.
Right.
So I told them, okay. And I started coaching them. I actually went and asked my grade school coach, if we were okay to coach. And he said, go ahead. So I felt guilty doing it.
Right.
And they actually won the league.
Okay.
Then my grade school coach got mad at me. He said, why did you do it? I said, you told me to do it. So that's how he started.
Yeah. Well, and I guess once you got to the end of your playing days, you were kind of looking at what you were going to do next in life to some degree, and the coaching was a thing that appealed to you always.
Oh, no. Well, it always appealed to me, but I wasn't really into coaching.
Right.
And that's because our younger kids, boys, I didn't want to put that pressure on them because people were like, well, you're Ken's son, you must be good. And I didn't want them to try to follow my path. So I never pushed football on them. But then they played in their grade school and high school. And they came home one day and they were just really upset. They said, we're tired of losing. Will you just come coach our team? That's how I got into coaching.
Right.
And then from there, in order to develop their players, the teams at the school, we had to form a traveling team just so I could work with them outside of school.
Okay.
And that's how they started to win championships. And then it continued from there.
Yeah.
Then of course we had our younger kids come along, and same thing, same story. I want to win, and okay, I'll coach. That's how it all started.
Well, for somebody like myself, I just played soccer a bit growing up, and so you wind up in a situation where your children are playing for someone else, and you're like, I might as well just coach. It had to be even more of a challenge for you maybe when you go to these games and you're seeing people coach, and you're like, I think I might know a little bit more.
Yeah, I had to be quiet many times, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Most definitely.
Well, let's talk about your program some. You've had some pretty good success at Glasgow.
Yes.
Probably the most successful run longevity-wise in terms of Glasgow boys soccer. Won district several years in a row until last year when Warren East showed up, and they actually caught you in a year where you kind of had a gap. You had a pretty good group of seniors that had graduated, and your team was really young. So coming off of that season, which is, I think, record-wise, the worst season that Glasgow's had since you've been there.
Yes, worst ever for us.
What message did you have to your team as the season was going along last year, especially considering they had to be looking at themselves and saying, man, we're the ones that kind of dropped the ball on this?
Right. The whole message was, in the beginning, the message was, you need to step up. Mm-hmm. Because they were so used to being the supporting cast to the other players, they weren't stepping up. They had the ability to step up, but they just weren't. They didn't have the confidence. As the season progressed and we just looked really bad, we had to change our focus. Mm-hmm. And our focus became, okay, we're rebuilding. This is a rebuilding year. And I have to now focus on the younger kids for next season. Yeah. And I told them, so what will happen is we're going to look bad in the beginning, but as the season progresses, we'll get better. And I told them, I still expect us to win district. There's no reason why we shouldn't, because district is a completely different tournament. You know? It's not based on your regular season schedule. And so our whole focus was, okay, let's just keep improving. Let's see how we're doing, because as long as we're improving, we'll be ready for next year. Mm-hmm. We had to build the confidence of these freshmen. We had a whole bunch of freshmen that came in. Right. And as it progressed, that's what happened. We got better and better. Well, and to that end, you guys ended up, I think, beating Barron in the first round of the district. Had lost to them both times during the regular season. That's correct. And had a real shot to beat Warren East. Had lost to them both times during the regular season as well. That's correct. With that finish in the district, what kind of momentum do you think your team has coming into this season? We have very good momentum. And that goes back to the younger kids understanding now. We don't take winning for granted. Mm-hmm. As you said, for so many years, they won district. It became something they took for granted. And they worked, but not as hard as they could. Mm-hmm. They did not enjoy losing last year. And they didn't like the fact that it was their group that, like you said, dropped the ball. Mm-hmm. But all this time, they've been talking about that. Yeah. They are ready to change that. And that's all, from a coaching standpoint, you hope that the team changes its mindset. You can teach them skills, but it's the mindset that makes the difference. And this new team, their mindset is much more improved than the past, because they realize they have to earn everything now. Do you so kind of, have you changed up the style of play based on the players that you have, or have you kind of doubled down on the style of play and tried to get these guys to buy into it more completely than they did last year? Well, every year, we've never played the same from year to year, because in total football, the philosophy is you have to adjust to your players. You don't get your players to adjust to what you do. Right. So we have never, ever played back-to-back the same way. Mm-hmm. For someone looking at the game, it might seem the same, but it's really different. So it's the same thing this year. As far as more advanced techniques, we have more advanced techniques than last year. Mm-hmm. but the way we play is different. It's really different than we've ever played.
Really? How do you mean by that?
Well, we have now a goalkeeper that we've been training him as a sweeper keeper since he was in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
So his confidence and his footwork is pretty good. So things that we couldn't do in the past because the goalkeepers didn't have the abilities, we can now do with Caden.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, we have a new goalkeeper, and that's Walker.
Mm-hmm.
She's never played soccer, but he played basketball.
Yeah.
And he played baseball, so he's very good with his hands.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows how to distribute really well, with his arms.
Yeah.
So depending on who's there, we take a different approach to the game.
Gotcha. Who are some players that you're looking at this year and you've kind of told them, look, you guys have really got to step up. You've got to have a big impact on the season.
All of them. Practically.
Maybe I asked the wrong question. Are there any that you expect to really kind of stand out this year? Because, I mean, like you said, you had a bunch of young guys, so there's potential for some growth out of those people.
Yes. Well, we have Nick, who's now a senior, and he's one of the ones that last year he was a junior last year.
Mm-hmm.
And we expected him to step up because we've trained him to be a striker, but he was just so timid.
Yeah.
Well, he's stepped up now. We have the younger guys who were freshmen last year. We've pushed them a lot, and they've responded.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Jared. We have Tomas. We
Mm-hmm.
have Josue. So we have Avery.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be a junior now. He was growing up. We had him in the shadow of our son Champ
Mm-hmm.
last year, getting him ready for this year, and he has stepped up a lot.
Yeah.
So we have kids that are definitely serious and ready to show that they're ready to compete.
One of the things about your record last year might have actually been a reflection that you usually have a pretty tough schedule.
Yes.
So if you have a down year with the schedule you usually have, then it maybe looks a lot worse than it was. Are you kind of loaded up that schedule again this year?
Oh yes. We're not going to take easy games just because we had a bad year.
Mm-hmm.
Our team has to adjust to the schedule that we have. We'd rather go out there and learn from the opponent, to learn from each game, than to go and beat somebody 10-0. But really, we didn't learn anything.
Yeah.
So last year was our worst year, but we learned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So even though the record was bad, the knowledge that we gained was fantastic.
One of the changes this year is you guys are going to be in the 2A, which means you're going to be in there with like Warren Central,
Yes.
which is not just good at 2A, but good
They're
across the
very
state.
good.
They're a state level competitor. I think you open next week with them in that 2A tournament.
That's correct.
What do you think about that matchup with them?
I won't know until we play them today. We scrimmage. We scrimmage them every year.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Ray and I are pretty good friends, and he's one of the only coaches when I took over this program that was willing to even play us.
Yeah.
Because the other coach was like, no, you guys are really bad. Doesn't benefit us. But he was willing to do that for us, and so we've always scheduled against each other, and we learn a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So just like we had a down year, they can have a down year.
Mm-hmm.
We'll know that when we scrimmage them later today.
Otherwise, in your schedule, like when you look at your district, Warren East, Barron County, Allen County, Scottsville, how do you think the district shapes up this year?
As usual, Warren East,
Mm-hmm.
Barron County, any team can have, like we did last year, a really bad season. Any team can pick it up because
Mm-hmm.
they get new players. So when we look at each game, we look at each game as we have to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
We don't look at the opponent, we look at the game and we prepare for that game.
Are there any games on your schedule that you think are kind of measurements of how your team's growing during the course of the season?
Yes. Warren Central.
Yeah.
We have Greenwood.
Yeah.
We also have, we played Bowling Green. And then we also have Apollo.
Okay.
So we'll look at those games and we see Bethlehem is also another good
Mm-hmm.
measure for us because they compete really well. And every time we play those games, we look to see what other steps we need to take. Whether or not we win is not the point. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay, what do we have to improve on?
I know when the World Cup's going on, you like your guys to check out the Men's World Cup.
That's correct.
Do you also like them to check out the Women's World Cup that's going on right now?
No. Sometimes we do, especially now because the quality is really high.
Yeah.
But because the games are like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to watch.
Right, exactly. That's the only reason why,
Yeah.
But we know that, for example, Korea, Japan, they play total football. Australia, and so we'd have them watch those games. But it's pretty tough right now to do that.
Right.
So instead, we have them watch games like Liverpool, Manchester City, those teams.
Gotcha. All right. Well, Coach Mahung, thank you for joining us and talking about the Glasgow Scotty soccer program.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it.
All right. This is James Brown. I've been here with Coach Mahung on Tell Me About It, Glasgow EPB Channel 6, the local channel. We'll be back again next week.